So, welcome to another episode of the Just Jamie podcast. And I am so excited because today's episode is a near and dear to my heart, health, fitness. And I'm so excited to have the founder and head coach of Endorphin Fitness, Michael Harlow, as my guest. So, hello.
Hey, thanks so much. Thrilled to be here.
Yeah, of course. So I'm a little bit of a fangirl from afar because we've never met, but my husband has done the Robius triathlon a few times and then also used one of your coaches for a Ironman camp.
Oh, fantastic.
And he's watched a bunch of your videos, and I've been accused of being high energy in my life. And then I have seen you in action at the triathlon, and you make me seem like I'm a flatliner. So I love your energy, and I know you are a man of faith. You're a father, you're a husband, you have two businesses, and I thought you would be the perfect person to talk to about health and fitness and leaning toward certainly the childhood obesity epidemic I think we have, because the Liv Red Foundation that you're involved in brings fitness to underserved communities. And I was so heartened when I went to the triathlon in September, and Andy was on the podium, by the way. But all the kids involved in triathlon, and even if triathlon feels intimidating, fitness in general. So I kind of want to just talk to you about how you got started and how you balance everything you balance. So
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
yeah. So what do you think when you hear about these obesity numbers, whether the fact that, adults 40 to 59, 46% of people are obese, 20 to 39, it's 35%, 60 plus, it's nearly 40%. The American Academy of Pediatrics wants to start prescribing medication and operations to children who are obese. Like, what say you?
Yeah, no, I think it's sad, and I think it's unnecessary. I think that we can create lifestyles, and it starts with the home, but we can create lifestyles that have us not end up this way. And it's sad, and I'm hoping that I'm doing a little part to be able to change it and make an impact. So
now, do you have 7 children? Am I correct?
I do. I have 7 children.
And what are their ages, if you don't mind kind of letting us know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, 18 now got an adult in the home.
You look like you're 20. How is that possible? I don't know the math on that.
I appreciate that. So 18 all the way down to 7.
Wow. And just seeing, I know a few of them do the triathlons with you as well, because they all, go ahead.
Yeah, so all my kids participate in some capacity. Some of them are more serious than others. They're all into different things. My wife is a dance teacher, also at Regency Dance, and so a lot of them are involved in dance, but they also participate in triathlon, and so we're all over the place and having.
So did you have to drag your kids kicking and screaming into that, or because you all modeled it, your wife and you modeled it at home, where activity and fitness and probably eating well, it's the way, it's their everyday? Or was
it's just part of our family culture. No, I never forced any of my kids to participate in triathlon. I did encourage them at a young age to come out and try practices. And if they want to do it, they can. And if they would choose to do something else, that's fine as well. We do want them to be active though. And we do everything we can to be active, just an active family all around. But I am very blessed that all the children enjoy it and like going out and participating in the practices. They've found a lot of their lifelong friends at these practices and have a great time. So,
see, that's a great question about the friends. Do they have friends that maybe are video game junkies and they're sort of on the sofa all the time? Do you find that you've got to kind of unplug them? The cell phones, how does that work?
So yeah, I think most of their friends are pretty active. I think they found friends who kind of like similar things. Most of their friends have come from either triathlon in the community that is that, or dance, or some other kind of activity that we're in. In terms of unplugging, I think in terms of video games, we don't really have a lot. We got an old school Nintendo in the house, and that's it.
Gotcha.
And so, but we do our best, very best, not perfect, but do our very best to try to get them outside and active whenever possible, and spend as much time as possible outside. Cell phones. So my older three are the only ones that have cell phones,
Okay.
and we started getting cell phones when they started going places by themselves, usually around 14.
Smart.
And honestly, if I could do it again, I'd probably wouldn't get it until they were 16. But because it's an addiction that we all experience.
100%.
I mean, I experience it. And so just that need to always have it with you and looking at it and seeing what's next. And so we do our very best to protect them from that, set a lot of boundaries around it. They give us their cell phones at the end of the night, and
Interesting. That's awesome.
They have to have them downstairs. They don't take them to their room, stuff like that. But
Well, the family culture, we always talk about corporate culture, right? You hear that, but I think the family culture is pretty huge. And I don't feel like that's as popular buzz phrase as it should be, because what I find about triathlon, I know when my husband was training, the day of the race, you're not allowed any cell phone, any music. It's a very, the mental, as you, I'm sure, can speak to, is so strong. You're not going to have tunes to carry you through. You have to be so mentally strong that the kids, do you also kind of have them trained without the phone, where it's always the constant companion? Do you kind of wean them off that?
Yeah. So interestingly, we don't have at our practices, we don't have any kids that try to listen to music while we're at practices. They're
Okay.
listening to the coach, listening to me. They're enjoying being around their fellow athletes. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that until right now, that's kind of the case. Now, if we're cycling on roads, I encourage them to have their phones with them for that.
Smart.
But they're not on it. They're not listening to it. So
Now,
yeah, it works well.
When you have families come to you and they're enrolling maybe their kids in a camp or something like that, are they coming to you from a family culture of fitness, or are they coming to you like, you got to help me remake this here? We're heading down a bad path. Maybe a kid is pre-diabetic or something like that, or do you get kind of all kinds?
all types. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, sometimes the parents come from the triathlon world or the fitness world, but surprisingly not as often as you would think.
Really?
Oftentimes it's the kids. Now the families might be very active, but parents aren't always triathletes. And I would say even most of the kids that come to us, the majority don't have parents that are triathletes, interestingly. And so, but they do value fitness, and they do want their kids to be active. Sometimes the kids are not active when they come, and that's great. And sometimes they are. Sometimes they're coming, but they don't have any interest in triathlon, but they're using triathlon as cross training and to get an edge in other sports as well. And so we really work with a large variety of kids. We coach very few because we have a thriving adult program as well. Yes. And we coach some kids who we also coach their parents, but the majority of the adults we coach, we don't have necessarily a lot of the kids in our program as well. So it's interesting.
That is interesting because it's maybe their time alone for the family. But I think, are you finding that the skills, not only that the parents are always on time, they're more disciplined, they're taking it seriously, those life skills that you're teaching the kids, whether they stay in triathlon or they're cross training for another sport, you're also giving them the skills to be successful adults and show up on time and be disciplined. And if you've got a team, right, you can't let down your team members or your coach. I think that's so important because they might not get that at home.
Absolutely. And so that's what I've always been about. So when I started Endorphin Fitness 20 years ago, I said, and I continue to say today, that I'm about mentoring kids and being and growing up successful children who eventually become adults. And triathlon is just my vehicle for doing it. And so that's what we're really trying to get at. We really try to partner with parents and and find out like what's going on in that child's life outside of just a sport. We've been very, very successful at making kids fast, but at the same time, what I'm most proud of is the impact we've had in the other areas of their life as well.
Well, that's why I wanted to talk to you, because you're a very electric person to be around, and it's contagious, and you walk the walk and you talk the talk, where there's so many people that sort of say one thing and do another. And with Liv Red, there are so many folks, kids especially, that don't know where their next meal is coming from, never mind a wetsuit and a bike to learn triathlon, or the running shoes, or the discipline at home. So do you get a lot of like local donations to help? Because it's an expensive sport, let's be honest. How do you kind of work with Liv Red to get kids who have never heard of triathlon? You want me to swim, bike, and run? Wait, what? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So let me explain a little bit. So Endorphin Fitness, again, started 20 years ago. We coach youth as well as adults, and triathlon, running, cycling, swimming, as well as general fitness. Then as we were kind of talking about the life skills and how that's really where my heart was, back in 2018, I said, hey, it's just not right that only kids who are able to travel to these practices or pay for these practices can take advantage of this. In Richmond, we have a huge amount of poverty, and there's a large portion of kids who are living in poverty. We have 22 different neighborhoods in the city of Richmond, which have what we refer to as an opportunity score of less than 10 on a scale of 1 to 100. That's from a website called diversitydatakids.org, which really drives what neighborhoods we focus on. So in 2018, I said, I want to change this. And so I started a nonprofit. It's a separate organization, separate from Endorphin Fitness, that seeks to empower all children. And the way we go about doing that is we provide a free fitness program, not necessarily triathlon. That it's much harder to make that happen in a lot of these neighborhoods, but a free fitness program that teaches life skills to children in low opportunity neighborhoods. And the last couple of years, we've had over 8,000 participants annually going through our program. And it's just been amazing to kind of see the work that we're doing in the community. So all these programs are free.
Are they at the schools, or do you get areas donated where you could use a gym somewhere, or?
Yeah, so what we do is we find nonprofits, schools, after-school programs, churches, different organizations like that are in the community already and have
the space,
access to these children, as well as a space. And so we provide this program to them, which we're providing to the children, all for free. And we have a variety, a host of coaches that go out and lead these programs. And that's what it looks like. So it's through partnerships in those various communities.
Now, do you sort of follow the kids? Like, do they keep in touch with you? Like, do you get to see those success stories? I mean, 8,000 faces that go through. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. Do you get to kind of follow them in the journey, or do you kind of set them free and hope for the best, or what kind of follow-up?
Yeah, so it certainly depends on the program. So we have certain programs like Step RVA, which is one of our most successful long-standing programs, where we're there year-round and we see in for multiple years. And so we've been able to see a lot of kids kind of progress through the program. And then we have other programs that might be more short term. It might be 8-10 week program. And then it's just for the situation, we're not able to continue, or we do it on an annual basis. And so really depends. But what we really try to lean into, especially over the last year, are those quality programs where we are with a group of kids for a long period of time. And then we also have been finding ways to kind of invest in them more by getting them, taking them out on some different experiences outside of the program as well. We took a group down to the James River to learn how to paddleboard. And we've taken them to Squirrels Game and rock climbing at Triangle Rock Club and different things like that, just to get some new experiences for them as well.
Because it is so important that you maybe even I took for granted probably growing up having experiences that, if there wasn't the Liv Red Foundation, how would they ever like paddle boarding, all of these things, because so many sports are so expensive, or how do I even get to the river? Just the transportation, it's so hard, but I really commend what you're doing and the fact that you're, again, giving them the life skills, keeping them healthy and fit, which will hopefully keep them off medications as they get older, and then give them those skills as they progress. Now, outside of the Richmond area, what if somebody wanted, is there something like what Liv Red is doing? Are there different offshoots? Like, where would anybody volunteer if they wanted to?
Yeah, well, currently we are just focused on the Richmond area. And
Okay.
I'm sure there are amazing programs outside of the Richmond area. I wouldn't be able to name any
Right.
on,
But there's only one Michael Harlow.
I've got an awesome staff. It's not just me, but yeah, we're focused on that Richmond area currently. That doesn't mean that we won't expand outside of the
Right.
area eventually, but currently we felt like there's such a big need in Richmond that we wanted to really immerse ourselves there first. And so we have paid coaches. We also have
Okay.
volunteer coaches
Okay.
that help with our programs. And so if someone like this really just stirred in their heart and they would love to go out and help with some of our programs, that would be a huge blessing to us. We would love for you to reach out to us. You can reach out through our website, or you can email me directly at
And we'll definitely
michael@livred.org.
link everything in the show notes, because sometimes that's easier just to click on it. And hopefully this is a motivating episode, because again, it kind of started with the obesity, and I was going through the fact that America is only second to China, which I was surprised about, but Japan and France have the lowest, and the reason is they cite healthy lifestyle and quality of food, and yet in the same pediatric study they were saying obesity is a complex problem with no easy solution. And I was like, to me, and maybe I'm dumbing it down, I was like, well, activity and quality of food, you just asked and answered the same question. So it must be frustrating for you as a coach to hear sort of the narrative out there that it's like this thing happening to us, like that there's red number 5 and something. We shouldn't be eating numbers. Like, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
those kind of things. Like, I know it makes me crazy, and I'm, I guess, 10, 15 years into like a health and fitness journey, if you will. But does it make you bonkers? Like what kids are eating in school and all of these things, like, does it just make you want to scream and pull your hair out?
Yeah, unfortunately, here in the U.S., what is normal is just not normal.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
Yes.
where we are making things normal to our kids that are just simply not healthy for them, and that's where we as parents just need to do the research and ask the questions and fill our pantries and our houses with things that are going to really lead to good development in our children instead of sending them down the wrong path. And it's I'm
It's so
blessed
true
in my
that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I'm blessed. My wife is much smarter than me with that, and she does just a fantastic job studying and making sure that our kids have every advantage possible. Which, I mean, we're just super blessed in that way. With the kids we work with in a lot of these neighborhoods, that's just not the case
It's
in a
heartbreaking.
lot of those situations. Not every situation, but in a lot of those situations, and it's sad. So.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, because we were actually talking in between. My last episode was about working moms, and the fact that there's the mom guilt, right? There's they take care of themselves last, and I think finding the time to be healthy is doing it for your kids. You're like, I lost my dad to diabetes, and I wish he was still here. I don't care that I'm 48. I miss my dad,
Yeah.
and it was something completely avoidable, and I didn't know then what I know now, and it makes me so crazy. But the idea that we are normalizing these horrific things, and that when it's the dissenting voice, whether it's you and me or other podcasts, we're made to feel like we're the crazy ones, right? By saying, I have to read 35 things in bread. There should be like, or in yogurt, there shouldn't be anything unpronounceable. But
Yeah.
yet, we find ourselves that we're the kooks, right? We're the wackos that kind of, where we normalized the opposite. And it makes me crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just laughing just because I've got a couple boys that are really involved in like football and baseball, and like the fact that like you said there isn't a lot of activity. You're not like sweating a tremendous amount. It doesn't matter if it's cold or what. There's Gatorade with dye in it.
Yes.
It's served every single game, and it's like my kids know they can't get it. like, and when we come with snacks, we bring water, and we're the kooky gang.
Right. Because then if you point out, then, obviously, either they're owned by Coke or Pepsi and all of these things that are possible carcinogens, and like blue isn't a color that occurs in nature. Why? But now you're the mean guy who's denying electrolytes. Well, again, sort of learning, running a 5K, water is fine. I just did the half marathon. I just had water. When you start getting into, Ironman and certain things, you need to replenish your electrolytes and salt, but it's actually a scientific sort of balance with output of energy. But these kids, like you said, they walked across 90 feet from, the dugout to first base, and they're like, woof, I need not an orange slice. I need some Gatorade, and I need it to be blue. And it really makes me nuts. But then it feels like if it doesn't make sense, it makes money, right? That if all of a sudden being healthy was somehow profitable, then we'd be the normal ones.
Yeah,
But it's just very inspiring. Like I said, that you're probably the first time a lot of these kids have heard this message. Like you said, underserved, they don't hear this rhetoric in the fact that you can move your body, you can be healthy, and that the answers are kind of like within you, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's not that complicated.
Right. Yes.
It's something that we can all do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you want to sort of leave us with, and I'll link all of your info, but just the fact that you're a busy dad and having, a wife and, all of these kids and everything. And the fact that you still give of your time, and it's so important, and it's inspiring to me. So hopefully others will be inspired as well.
Yeah, I guess I would say we didn't really touch base too much on like the races. So
sorry.
It's important. No, important to kind of explain that because that's where we met.
Please.
So when I started Liv Red Foundation, I was a race director prior. I'd done some race directing through Endorphin Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided, hey, I don't want to just rely on donors and corporate partners to be able to fund this vision that I have. I want to find a way to make it self-sustaining as well. And so we started a whole race series within Liv Red Foundation to fund our programs. And so we put on 10 different youth as well as adult run in multi-sport races. So multi-sport being triathlon,
and there's
duathlon,
one coming up, right? I
So
think I read on the website.
Our next event, so we just kind of finished for the season.
Oh, okay.
Our next event is February 23rd, and that's the West Creek Duathlon, as well as we have a 5K there. And that'll kind of kick off our season. And we've got a whole variety of different races next year for that. So it was really important. We're unique in that we're one of the few race directors around the country that have youth as well as adult races, because it's really important to me that it's very family focused, and there's opportunities for both. And so it's another area where we're always looking for volunteers or participants to come out. And the cool thing about that is when you participate in Liv Red Foundation events, you're actually raising the funds to fund a whole community of programs. And so,
I think people who don't participate in races don't realize that, you've got to hire police, and you have to have EMTs and everyone. I mean, these races are, for safety. You've got to have all of your bases covered, and certainly triathlon, you've got all the different transitions, the amount of planning. You don't just show up and go run. It's pretty. And then the last, in September, there was so much rain. The swim was canceled. I think you all had to change the route a few different times. And I'm sure you didn't sleep for like a week leading up to that. But again, you made it seem like it was the most normal thing in the world, and it went off without a hitch, and the river was like raging. It was just an amazing event, but I think I've seen it now for the better part of 10 years. But when people are like, oh, you just do a race. And you're like, yeah, you've got to plot out. All the police have to be there, and they're not free because the resources, it takes a ton of money. And I just, I know we'll be signing up and giving as much as we possibly can. So No, I'm sorry. I forgot to ask you about the
no, that's
races.
okay. No, I appreciate it. Absolutely. The races, they are a passion of mine. I absolutely love them. I love directing them. They require a crazy amount of time and resources to make them happen. They are big endeavors, and we have everything from the East Coast Triathlon Festival, which brings people to Innsbruck for our event, from
Okay.
42 states and 5 countries every year. It's one of the biggest youth triathlon festivals in the country.
Wow.
And then all the way down to like the local splash and dash that we put on that has like 100 participants. So there's a big gamut of the type of events we put on, but they're all very community focused. And
I'm in the tortoise group. I'm in this. My husband's in the fast group. I'll be the splasher dasher because I'm always very slow.
Well, all levels are always welcome at all of our events. We try to keep them really beginner friendly and family friendly.
And that's what's so amazing, because I know, and my mom will kill me, but she's always in her head with somebody's looking, somebody's watching, she's self-conscious, where if you show up at any race, whether it's one of yours, the half marathon, anything, you see all ages, you see, and certainly in the triathlons, they've got the ages on their calf, or they're like, and I'm amazed there's somebody in their 80s, there's somebody in their 70s, and they are killing it out there, and they have very different than the person who's got to be in the buggy in the grocery store at half their age because they're so unhealthy. And it's very inspiring to me. So hopefully more people won't feel self-conscious and they'll just get out and go, because no one cares. No one cares what you look like. Just go do it.
Certainly. And you bring up a great point. Like, a lot of people hear triathlon and they think of Ironman,
Yes,
and they
yeah.
think of this super intimidating, uber fit type personality. But there are triathlons that happen almost every weekend in the state of Virginia. There are other great organizations that put on ones like Kinetic Multisport and Rev3 that are in the same world as us, that are putting on all these races. And at these races, some of ours are as short as a 200-meter swim, a 6-mile bike, and a 1.5-mile run. We have very short races, as well as up to the sprint distance for us. But you'll see all types of people. And so I would just encourage everyone out there to believe that you could actually do a triathlon. I believe that everyone can. And if you need help or you need convincing for that, please reach out to me. Happy to talk with you about it. I've been in the sport for 33 years now. I started at the age of 10. I've seen it change a lot and seen what it has become. And I truly am passionate about it and believe that everyone can do it. You might need a little bit of guidance, but it doesn't take much. If you have a commitment, then you can get through one of our triathlons 100%.
You're so right, because I think most people think, at least my introduction to it was like seeing Kona when it used to be on TV, and it's, the best of the best, the elite athletes that qualified. And that's inspiring, don't get me wrong, but there's so many other levels that you can get into. You're not walking into, like, back in the day when like Mike Tyson was at the height of it, you're not walking into the ring with him first thing. That, you can kind of walk before you run, and don't say you can't do it without even trying. Because like you said, there's these entry level, sort of different steps you can take along the way. And then maybe you're like, I don't love the other two disciplines, but man, do I love riding a bike, or do I love running, where you can then, kind of, tweak it to what you can have for the next 20 years of your life and really be passionate about. So I think that's such an important message.
Absolutely. And we have people who participate in our events that walk the run. Like, that's okay. That's okay. And also, if you for some reason can't run, then an aqua bike is a great option for you. We have that at every single one of our events. It's just swim bike. And then there's also the duathlon. So if you're just not a good swimmer and you're not comfortable with that yet, you can do a run bike run. That's a duathlon. And so that's an option as well. Or sign up as a relay with a couple of your friends.
Yes.
Maybe you'll bike and someone else will swim.
I didn't think about that. That would be great, because I sink like a rock. I don't know that you'd want me in the James River, but I think I didn't even realize that was an option. I'm so glad you said that, because now I just feel like I just got roped into doing one, which I'm excited about.
And
the
fact
that you have
also
special needs athletes as well. the last one was so inspiring. I wept like a baby when he crossed the finish line, but the fact that it was so encouraging and inspiring, and really a sense of community that everybody was pulling for those athletes. It's just,
Absolutely. It's so special, and such a just great party community of event. Everyone's
great
cheering
snacks,
for
might
each
I
other.
add. So
That's great. And with you, I know you're worried about that swim, but I'll tell you, when we try to get as much information we can from our participants, and we are 100% invested in safety. And so when we find out someone is a little bit worried about that swim, there's a few different options. One, we give them a different swim cap, and we put a lifeguard and volunteer on them the whole time. So they have someone who is chaperoning them throughout that swim. And then two, that we also give them the option of actually attaching a buoy to them, a buoy that they can hold on to if they had
such
trouble.
a great invention. And especially while you're training, that if you ever cramp up or something, it's enough to kind of hold you up. But that's so smart, because I don't care if somebody like shadows me the whole way. It would give me confidence to know that somebody is minding me, where instead of thinking it as a self-conscious thing, be like, they're just making sure that you're going to be okay. But I think that's, again, why I wanted to do this podcast. And I'm so glad you brought it up, was that at every level, they got your back. You want your athletes to be successful, whether it's their first race, last race, or millionth, and that no one is judging. You're in your own head. You're not judging, kind of like, just enjoy it. So
absolutely. And truly, if we can help in any way, whether it be the coaches at Endorphin Fitness or myself as a race director at Liv Red Foundation, just kind of point you in the right direction. I've got tons of different resources that I've created over the years, videos and articles and things that I can send you, as well as just be there to bounce questions off. At Endorphin Fitness, we also have an amazing bike shop.
I was just going to say, is it Andrew?
Yeah,
is it your
Andrew.
master? My husband, like when he came home from getting his bike fit, you would think he went and saw like at the Holy Grail. He's like, this guy was amazing. But he speaks about him with such reverence, but it gave me the confidence that he was going to, all the technical side of the Ironman was set. But I was just about to say that you offer the full service, right? Because you bought a bike. I don't know where the seat's supposed to be. You got everybody covered.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you have questions from a gear standpoint, or like, are you fit well, or do you need a tweak to your bike because, it's not running right? We have a full bike shop that's capable of helping you there as well. And so we can just be a resource. I've fallen in love with the sport, so I try to be everything I possibly can for people who need it, for the athletes that I coach, and would love to help and just see new people come into the sport.
That's so awesome. Well, I'm so glad you joined. And like I said, I'm going to link everything. So hopefully you'll get tons of volunteers and tons of business, because like I said, time is money, and you own a business. And I just appreciate you coming on and doing this, because I think the message for adults and for kids, all of it is so important. And Zach and I were talking about it for like 20 minutes in between episodes, and we probably could have kept going, because it's like literally an epidemic of, just sedentary lifestyle. And if they hung out with you for 2 seconds, it'd be over. So yeah.
I don't know about that, but I appreciate the confidence.
Well, thanks. And hopefully maybe we'll have you back for part 2.
It sounds great. Just let me know.
Thanks again. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
You too. Enjoy it.
Take care. Bye.